I would say a growth mindset is someone who has the mind of an owner, someone who looks at the big picture and is willing to go above and beyond, someone who's adaptable and resilient.
Welcome to Growth Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is John Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, our episode is on hiring people with a growth mindset. If you don't know what a growth mindset is, it's where you're open to new ideas. You're open to learning and continuous growth. And a fixed mindset sort of use this comparison to those that are close to those new ideas, those that are close to growing. And this is just the way it is. Ideally, you want to be hiring people with a growth mindset, specifically because the job requires them to learn something and you want them to be open to learning. And they will probably continue to learn things as the company evolves, as you innovate, and you're asking them to continue that journey. And you want them to have that natural growth mindset. Our special guests today are the founders of JJ Safety. JJ Safety is a very special kind of firm that's out there that really come to really enjoyed getting to know them. But we had the interview with John Shelman and Jonathan Nichols. And John and Jonathan and I talk about the growth mindset, about what it is, what it isn't, what we can do to hire people, what happens inside of our organizations when we have those growth mindset people. Really excited to bring this episode to you as you try to put together the right team and really execute on your goals. We're here to help you and support you. My name is John Hammett. I'm an executive coach. We have a leadership development company where we help managers become leaders, and really excited about the impact that we make with organizations. If you're curious about the work we do because you are a fast growth company or you want to be a fast growth company, then you want to check out what we're doing. And if you want to put your toe in and just kind of try it out, then you can join us for a virtual conversation where we talk with other CEOs, other executives of fast growth companies. It's all based on a topic. And if the topic resonates with you, then we'd love for you to sign up and join us. But you do have to be an executive. You do have to want to be a fast growth company. And all you have to do is go to coreelevation.com/virtual conversations. You can do it now. And we'll see you on the next virtual conversations. Now, here is the interview with John and Jonathan. Hey, John and Jonathan.
Hey, how's
Gene.
it going, Gene?
We're going to have a great time today. Before we dive in, I'd love for you guys to give us a little bit of an understanding of JJ Safety and what you guys do.
Sure. We're not a traditional safety company with boots on the ground out inspecting job sites and, doing fall protection training. We found a niche market years ago where today, if you want to work for the biggest of the big companies, if you're a contractor and you want to go build Amazon warehouses or go build Walmarts or work for Merck Sharp and Dome, Johnson & Johnson, any of the biggest companies, there's a pre-approval process you have to go through. The insurance companies have told these big companies, if you want your premiums to stay where they are, you need to guarantee us and the outside contractors are as safe as possible. So what happened is these online auditing portals started just popping up, and these big companies hire these companies to audit their subcontractor. So many of these contractors, they have safety programs, but to find the time to jump through these audits, it's hard for them. So we do that for them. We manage these audit platforms for contractors and keep them working for their most important customers.
Great. Where do you see this industry going over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's grown so much in the last decade. It started off in the oil fields with the oil boom. They were having to always pre-screen the subcontractors on the oil fields. And when the kind of bottom fell out of that, all these auditing websites spread out into every manufacturing, every form of construction and service work that there is. So just more and more companies are seeing the benefits to this, and the industry really just keeps growing.
Well, we're going to dive into our main topic today, which is about people who believe in a growth mindset. Can't go any further until we define what growth mindset. So in your words, what is a growth mindset?
I would say a growth mindset is someone who has the mind of an owner, someone who looks at the big picture and is willing to go above and beyond, someone who's adaptable and resilient.
Love it. I have so many interviews where people talk about the importance of their employees feeling like owners. And when I say this, I believe that we can create the employee experience without actually giving up financial stake. It does help, to have financial stake if you have that available, but you don't have to. You can have someone have that feeling of ownership. Have you guys been able to make that happen across your company?
We absolutely have. Most of the work that we do by our account managers is set up in caseloads that we preach they run like their own business. So each one of them has a owner's mentality on making sure these people renew, on looking for upsell opportunities, because they run it like their own business. They each have 250 to 300 of our customers, and their job is to take that and form it into the best little business they can. And so, fostering that owner type mindset is constantly going on around here. It's part of the deal.
The flip side of a growth mindset is a fixed mindset. Is Carol Dweck wrote the book on mindset, and those are the two kind of composing things. And I know there's a lot of kind of variations of these things. How would you guys describe a fixed mindset?
I would describe a fixed mindset as someone who's narrow, with a narrow view, who only sees like what's in it for them, someone who's selfish, someone who only sees things in a smaller picture, in a smaller light.
I think that somebody with a fixed mindset gets comfortable. They find something they're decent at that they can live with, and they go and get by at it. They're comfortable with a beginning salary or whatever salary they found to get themselves by, and they work their life in and amongst that, instead of always trying to improve, always try to be better today than it was yesterday. And that growth mindset is what makes all businesses just keep growing and flourish. Flourish was the word I was looking for. And especially here, we have a big second chance employment opportunity that we've taken advantage of here. And if you're looking at justice impacted people, you have to really watch for that growth mindset, because they're coming out of a bad decision, a bad time in their lives, and they're really looking to take that step into normalcy, into society, to do really good, and they're really focused on it. And if you can, really identify that in the people and then work to, build it up and make it stronger in them, we find some just sheer superstars that way.
People who will literally run through a wall for you, who would do anything for you.
They're looking for a leader, and if you take the reins and run, they'll follow right with you.
We've been talking about a growth mindset, and I wanted to share a story with you. I remember a client of mine who was stuck, and he was specifically stuck in having more patience. And I remember him saying something to the effect of, "That's just the way I'm wired." Now, I share this with you because maybe you've said the same thing. Maybe you don't have any patience whatsoever for people that are, not doing the right thing, or behind, or not meeting their deadlines. I get it. But we as leaders have to lead by example. And I remember asking this client, "Do you believe that you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset?" He obviously said, "I have a growth mindset." I said, "Then why did you say the words that's just the way I'm wired?" Because those are words that would tell you you're in a fixed mindset. I can't change. And so I was able to have a really great conversation, a deeper conversation around this concept of growth mindset, to open him up to new levels of patience and a new perspective. That's the key to coaching. I share it with you because maybe you experience the same thing on your executive team, or maybe it's someone else in your staff who's got that fixed mindset and you need them to switch gears to growth. My hope is that you will see this as valuable and keep coming back for more. Back to John and Jonathan. Not many people have talked about this second chance employment. I've seen it in different areas. Why did you guys decide on that as a great place to hire people?
Well, to be honest, Gene, I come from a second chance background. I made some poor decisions in my younger life and got caught up in, I've always been a salesman, but I haven't always sold legal things. And it caused me some problems.
I appreciate that.
I dealt with those problems, and I came out a bigger and better person. And while going through that, I recognized, my gosh, there are some quality people here that are just, have made some bad decisions, gotten some bad situations, had bad upbringing, whatever it was. And we've got software developers, we've got managers, we've got some of our best account managers,
accounting directors,
or finance manager. People that have made, like I said, have had some bad choices earlier in their life, that are now have turned their life around and just want nothing but to get the most out of life that they can. And there is I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people incarcerated in the United States, but at some point they're all going to be coming out and wanting to rejoin the workforce. And having an open mind to those people who just want a new life and just want to work their butts off for a better life is, man, we've got a waiting list for people to work here. And you know as well as I do from hearing other people on your podcast that people are having trouble keeping employees in these days. And like I said, we've got waiting lists.
I love this story. I mean, we don't hear this at all. I've done 1,000 interviews and no one's ever said we are focused on or have a focus with second chance employment. And honestly, I ran into this with a friend of mine the other day, and I was just really impressed with that the company that it's my coffee shop that I go to on a regular basis. And she had said she's graduating to the next level and she's moving away. And I didn't know what next level meant, but turned out she's part of something like this second chance, and really solid people, like really genuine, nice people. And so that's what you guys are finding. My question inside all of this is there's also people that probably have a fixed mindset in this, because it doesn't matter whether you're second chance or not. You can have fixed or growth. How are you assessing the growth mindset in the interview process when you don't really know the person that well?
It's really simple. You just ask questions. I like before when I said, one of the keys of coaching is asking the right question. And in the interview process here, and when I speak at a lot of programs where people are just coming out of situations like that, so I'm speaking to groups of incarcerated individuals, and so I have learned the questions to ask on what they're really looking for. What is it, do they understand the mistakes they made? Are they accepting responsibility for the mistakes they made? And what are their real plans for the future? Have they set down specific steps? Have they put effort into setting up a plan? Have they actually, put pen to paper and put out some steps? And you can tell the difference in the ones that have fed up with their past and have really put an effort in it, coming out with a change attitude, a change mindset, and the ones that haven't.
Jonathan, what would you add to that? Because I feel like there's many different ways to look at that one question. How do you assess that growth mindset?
Yeah, I think it can be difficult in the beginning to identify a growth mindset in an initial interview. I think sometimes it takes just taking a chance on someone and seeing their work ethic and seeing how they maneuver their day, how they handle situations, how they respond to adversity. I think that sometimes it takes a little while to really identify someone with a growth mindset.
This whole episode is on the growth mindset. And if you're interviewing people for the growth mindset, the biggest thing you've got to do is listen to the words. There's many different ways to assess it. I shared with you an example before with a client who said, that's just the way I'm wired. That's an example of a fixed mindset language. You want to be listening for those things. That's just the way it is. I couldn't change. I can't teach a new dog, an old dog, new tricks. You get where I'm going? Listen to that language, really listen, and then use that to ask questions to probe. And if you're in the hiring process, you're going to ask them, is that really true? Because you can't ask them directly. If you ask anyone whether they have a fixed mindset or growth mindset, 100% of the time, they're going to say growth. They're not going to say they're not evolving and closed off. They're going to say they're open. And I want to remind you got to do this in a little bit more indirect way if you're going to assess their growth mindset. Back to John and Jonathan. I'm going to share with you guys a question I typically ask in the interview process. And it really connects to that ownership mentality that you mentioned before. And it's my favorite interview question. So I'm going to give it to you guys here and we can discuss it just a little bit. Is that okay?
Sure.
Sounds good.
It's a two-part question. The first one is a setup, right? As in a joke setup, but just in this case, the first part is tell me about a goal that you set that you didn't achieve. And so you're looking at like the professional life. And the second part of the question is does all the heavy lifting. Why didn't you get it? If they immediately blame someone else, they're not taking ownership. But if they say, I didn't do the extra work, I took my foot off the gas, I did this, or I did that, you know that they've got that ownership mentality and they're not willing to blame some others. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's awesome. And I think it goes back to exactly what I was saying. When these guys are coming out, you ask the question about, what went wrong? Did you learn from the mistakes that you made? And if they're constantly blaming, no, it was because of that, I got a bad rap, it was because of this, it was because of that, it was because of this. And none of it was because I made a bad decision or because I made a poor choice or because I was, not knowledgeable on the situation or whatever. If they're not willing to take ownership of it, it's just, that you can tell that they're not going to last long.
That's a great point, and I agree with that. I do.
Perfect. I'm kind of curious, once they're on board, some people come in with a little bit of a fixed mindset that sometimes they're growth, sometimes they're fixed. How are you guys leading and coaching people to really adopt that growth mindset as they grow and evolve with your company?
3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. First thing I do when I get up in the morning is I text every person involved with our company, whether they're management or employee, a good morning text telling them I love them, telling them how wonderful they are, telling them what an awesome day we're going to have. And I attach 2 to 3 quotes that I think are uplifting for them and what we have going on right now. They can be leadership quotes, they can just be positive attitude quotes, they can be positive mindset quotes, just things like that. We do 3 times a week. We're just always here as well. We are, one of us is the first one here, one of us is the last one to leave. We're constantly walking up and down the aisles, constantly stopping and talking, engaging, and keeping that communication open. We totally believe in leading by example. So the extra things that we do for the employees to make them love their job, we constantly take part in it. We're there. We're not absent. We're right there with them. And I think that's the biggest thing in just fostering that growth mindset constantly, is just being a part of it and always communicating with them and making sure that we don't ever settle. Gene, on 3 walls of our building here is the phrase, good enough is the enemy of greatness. Mm-hmm. And because we just don't settle, we don't ever allow them to settle. We start first thing in the morning with positive reinforcement and growth mindset type things in the initial sales meetings and in the first things in the morning. And then it just continues throughout the day. You'll see regular employees checking another one for negativity on the floor, like, hey, bring it in a positive way. It's just so awesome. The culture here, the way it's been brought up, and the way that what we call the vibe.
Yeah, and we like to point out successes too. We really like to emphasize when someone has a success or a win in their day, something that they've done well, something that they've overcome. We like to point it out and let them know that we recognize it, and we like to recognize them for their accomplishments. And I believe that goes a long way as well and helps people, stay motivated to have a growth mindset.
I've spoken on stages, I've worked with clients, and I've literally had people say to me, I give them a paycheck, I shouldn't have to praise them. And I question them every time. I smile, and it's like, look, it's free to be able to say this to someone, send a text and say, hey, you're doing a great job, or whatever. I saw you overcame this problem. And you guys are demonstrating that with these examples. Is there another ritual that you can share with us? Maybe something you guys do different across your leadership or culture that really ties this all together?
Well, we do have open book management philosophy. We like to share KPIs, financial goals, financial targets. We like to share those with the people so that when it's time for their profit sharing, they understand how we got there. And I believe that when you share those details with people, it inspires them to take a bigger slice of the pie. It inspires them to work toward the goal because they understand what the goal is, and they can see their part in the goal and how their contribution really makes a difference.
I believe in that too. And in fact, I told you I'd talk about ownership, and I've actually got a speech. There's 6 elements to ownership and people feeling like owners. And one of them is transparency, where the ability to know how the business actually makes money. And a lot of people are afraid to open up things like that. They're afraid that people will think they make too much money, or they're afraid that people will not understand things. And I was like, true, they probably won't understand it. If you don't explain it to them, they'll probably make it up, and it'll be worse than what it really is. And what you're describing to me is, another reason why you guys have this ownership mentality, because it's a critical piece to people feeling like owners.
And the other thing is, we just try to make them feel supported and secure. I think since COVID, the workforce really feels, they want to feel protected. They want to feel like the company they work for has them. The days of the guy who I give him a paycheck, I shouldn't need to praise him, are long gone. That's those companies have trouble finding employees these days. Yeah, after COVID, the great resignation, these people, they know they don't need this job. You know what I mean? They can go, they all believe they can go find another job for the right person or whatever. It's always out there. So you have to understand that and make sure they don't ever want to leave you. And so we've taken it to a new level, Gene. I mean, we put a salad bar out at lunch and we sit there and help serve when we're there to these guys. We have workouts at lunch where we bring trainers in from outside, low impact at lunch, high impact after work. One of us is up there for all of them. I mean, we're just part of everything with these guys, trying to be just showing them the company has their back, not only for the work they do, but trying to make their lives as a whole better, make them healthier, make them more positive, make them just love life more.
I'm really enjoying this. You guys promised me to share how you're different. There's been at least 3 or 4 different things I've never heard in any other interview on how you guys are running this company. I'm very impressed. I'm glad we had a chance to share your story here on the podcast.
Thank you, Gene.
Hey, thanks for having us.
We love what we do here, and the team that we've built is just, we're blessed every day, and the good Lord up above has said, yeah, this is good. I like it.
Wow, what a great interview about mindset. I'm surprised I haven't done more episodes around a growth mindset, because it's such a common part of the coaching experience, is to look at the way people see themselves, see the world. And a growth mindset is definitely something you want to be hiring for, and you want to make sure that you have employees that have adopted this growth mindset. There's many reasons for it. We outline them in the podcast, but really the core of it is it's about continuous learning and about them taking ownership of their world. And instead of being closed off to new opportunities, they're willing to accept and evolve as your company grows. And that's a critically important thing, wouldn't you say? My name is Gene. I love what I'm doing here. If I can help you out in any way, make sure you reach out to me, gene@genehammett.com. And then when you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.